Hey sis, welcome to Mi Vida, a podcast where we explore holistic healing for the mind, body, and spirit. This podcast was created for those dealing with chronic and mental illness, especially if you're a kick-ass strong warrior in the Latino community. I'm Naty, your host, fellow lightworker, sister, amiga, lover, and friend, and I'm here to remind you to pay attention and catch your breath. Welcome, this is Naty, and I'm really happy that you made it today. I truly believe that if you're here today, it's for a reason and a purpose. And no matter how you got here, I know that this message was meant for you. Let's start with the purpose of this podcast. I have a business called Naty Heals. It's a Reiki business, life coaching business, and it's something that has quickly become my baby. This is about helping people like myself get through those dark moments, helping people learn that they have the power inside them to start healing. And I use different methods to get through each day holistically. What does that mean? That means that I use natural healing. And by natural, I mean herbs, plants, meditation, lifestyle changes, watching the way that I eat, exercise, different things of that nature. And I stopped relying on looking on the outside for answers. If you are on your own journey with chronic pain or mental health, you know how easy it is to get lost in the long waiting rooms of the doctor's offices, in not having the answers, in going to all the specialists and wishing that they had an answer, and usually they don't. It's very easy to mask the symptoms of what you're going through. However, have you ever asked yourself, why am I going through this? And I really want that to be the purpose of this podcast, to answer that question. I was in my mid-20s when I was faced with chronic pain and mental illness. And if you follow my story online, or get my book, you'll learn that I've had to deal with a lot of issues in my life, from fibromyalgia to arthritis, endometriosis, diabetes, migraines, PTSD, bipolar, anxiety, and you name it, I've probably gone through it. And now, as I'm reaching closer to 40 years old, I'm starting to realize that I had allowed those things to become my label. And by that, I mean that those things controlled my life. Don't get me wrong. I know that it's not easy. I've experienced it. I've lived in days where I didn't want to get up, days I didn't want to keep living, days where I struggled just to get through the next hour, especially after fracturing my spine in 2021. That's where this idea came from. I got sober 7 years ago because I started to realize that the medications I was on were making me sicker, and I got really lucky. I had an amazing pain management specialist that really helped wean me off of the 13 different medications that I was on when I got to her. And shout out to Dr. Hesser. And she really helped me see that there were other options. So I started doing aqua therapy, and I switched to medical marijuana. And those two little changes right there made a big difference in my life. I was on so many medications. I started getting kidney stones. My diabetes was out of control. My kidneys started to fail. And honestly, I felt like crap. I felt worse than before I was on the medications. So when she was able to help me get off of those medications, I was really grateful. And around that time was when COVID hit. And during COVID, I really had a fight with faith. I knew that what I was doing was working. I knew that I had a purpose. I always had great faith in prayer and a creator and something bigger than any of us could ever understand. But the fight was with myself. Why couldn't I connect? Why was I so sick? What was I missing? If I had so much faith, what was the purpose of what I was going through? And around this time, I came out the closet and I left the religion I was in. So when I tell y'all que esa batalla era una batalla espiritual, let me tell you, I've never fought so hard in my life. And I had just got divorced. And, I was going through it, guys. I was going through it. And as I was going through it, COVID hit. And during that time, I faced many battles. And I really think of this one moment where I was sitting at my favorite lake in Egg Harbor City. Shout out to my people. I miss you guys. I love you guys. But I remember I was sitting at a lake and I had learned about meditation. And I remember I was reading in the Bible and I kept saying, well, Jesus meditated. What is meditation? I want to know what that is. And I started looking it up, and then I started going into YouTube and Google, and I started practicing. But like a lot of my clients tell me, I couldn't get my brain to shut up. I really couldn't. So I thought I was doing it wrong. And I remember sitting there and really just praying and saying, you know what? I surrender. I don't know why I'm going through everything I'm going through. I don't know how to make it stop. I don't know what I can do differently. But I surrender, Spirit. Whatever it is I need to go through, I'm not going to lose faith. I'm going to stay grateful for the good stuff. And I'm going to keep pushing forward un día a la vez. And that's exactly what I did. You see, during this time, I had lost the love of my life, my grandfather, to COVID. As a mom, single mom, I had to face one of my biggest fears, which was my eldest child catching COVID and almost losing them as well. Right after that, I fractured my spine. And a month later, all three of my kids were in a really bad car accident. And when I said that prayer, I didn't realize I was going to open this whirlwind door to another universe. And I say that because that's exactly what it feels like. The me I was back then is completely different than the me I am today. And I attribute that to following my intuition, holding on to my faith, and truly believing in my Creator. And I'm not here to preach at y'all. Well, actually I am, but I'm not. But I'm here to tell you guys what got me through it. And because of that faith, when I broke my back, I remember the second that I felt that crunch and the air taken out of my body. I remember thinking, oh no, not again. And in that moment, I knew this was going to be the battle of a lifetime. You see, I knew I had two options. I was either going to walk the walk that I talk, or I was going to go backwards. And life's ironic that way. I had to face myself. And man, a mí me dio la depre. And I mean depre. Depression was real at first. I felt lost in a manic episode for months, as I didn't know what to do with myself. I mean, I couldn't even walk. My kids had to change my diapers. Like, the darkness was real. However, I had this tool called prayer, and I had started learning about meditation. And you see, although I couldn't get my brain to shut up in those silent moments, when I had COVID and I started meditating, it taught me something. You see, prayer is talking to God. Meditation is shutting up and listening. And as I had all this time to recover in bed and do these meditations, and I mean, guys, I was going on YouTube and do I want to do this one? Do I want to do that one? A mí no me gusta esta, this one. You know, when you grew up in a really strict religion like I did, you really question your every movement. So I used to sit there and fight with myself. Should I do this one? No, that's not right. I shouldn't do this one. And now I know that was a lot of the paradigms that I grew up with, the thinking, the ways of thinking, the teachings that I had. And I had to learn to give myself a break. And that's when I found an amazing rheumatologist that suggested somatic therapy. And I really didn't know what somatic therapy was. And if any of you are like me, my mind really went into research mode. I decided to start Googling and research and YouTube videos and asking questions to professionals and really figuring out what it was I was talking about. Somatic therapy is the idea that what happens to you is not just in your mind, but also your body. So somatic therapy techniques are things that you can do to connect your mind and body. Now, some examples of that could be dance, yoga, Pilates, and different things like that. So since I had this time to sit there and think of different ways to really calm my pain down, as again, guys, I was sober. I wasn't taking pain medications with a fractured spine, only medical marijuana and maybe ibuprofen. But that was really hurting my stomach, so no gracias. And I really started to ask myself, okay, what's working for me? What's not working for me? And I really did like the Reiki meditations that I was doing. So I decided to look up a Reiki school. I wanted to learn more. And I remember before fracturing my spine, I had actually seen a Reiki school called Awake Academy. Shout out to Dr. Rebecca Sullivan. She's an amazing teacher and coach. And I reached back out to her and I started taking the course. And within a few months, I became a certified Reiki master. And I started to use what I was learning in the Reiki course to really learn how to ground my own energy and get through what I was going through physically, spiritually, emotionally, and it really worked. So what is Reiki? Reiki is a Eastern belief that energy flows through your body. Now, let's think about energy. You ever walk into a room and the energy feels different? Or have you ever been in a room and someone else walks in and the energy just shifts? Energy is what everything in this world is made of. Some people call it spirit. Some people, I don't know, they just call it life. But esa energía is something that we all carry within us. So what a Reiki master does is literally teach you how to manipulate your own energy. By doing so, you're able to really relax things like pain, anxiety, depression, panic attacks, racing thoughts. By learning to manipulate your own energy, you can really find healing. Reiki was founded in the 1900s, and it's an old tradition practice that came from Japan, and it's been practiced for years by ancestors who really knew something that we didn't, right, about this energy. So I really feel like this is something that has been a blessing to my life, and it could be to yours as well. Now that I knew how to do Reiki and that I was a Reiki master, I felt a lot better. I was able to have my quiet moments when I felt like I was having a manic episode or a fibromyalgia flare up or I was having a bad day, I would go meditate and feel better. However, I felt like something was missing in my life. And there I was still doing acupuncture, aquatherapy, I got stem cell injections. I was really doing the work every single day. It became my life goal to get through each day. I had a life coach. I had therapy. I was really digging in and digging deep, And I kept asking myself, what's still missing? And I kept praying. My sister always says, push, pray until something happens, right? The pain was still there. And I had good days, I had bad days. Don't let anyone tell you they have all the answers, because they don't, And I was still struggling. So I decided to really rely on my faith and intuition and keep looking for answers. And I followed that intuition. And I remember I was looking online one day after meditating. And I don't know how. don't even ask, because I don't know how I found it. But I found this college called Maharishi International University. And when I started looking into this, I really didn't know what I was looking for. I think I was looking for like herbal school and herbology and massage or something like that. However, what I found was a whole different world. I found the world of Ayurveda. And Ayurveda is a natural system of medicine that comes from India that's over 4,000 years old. And it is some deep, deep knowledge. It basically connects the mind, the body, the soul, and the spirit with very simple practices. It is the belief that we are all made out of the elements of the earth, which are water, air, space, earth, and fire. If you really think about it, everything on earth is made of these things, right? And we as humans are made of nature, of earth. And there is a way through Ayurveda where you can learn how to simply cleanse your body. And as you cleanse your body, you cleanse your mind. And the first thing that they teach you is transcendental meditation. And guys, when I tell you that learning Ayurveda has completely changed my life, let me tell you this story. Last summer, I had the opportunity of visiting MIU and going on campus and having a class. When I got there, I remember in the airport, I was in a wheelchair. I couldn't carry my own bags. I had just had stem cell injections to my spine a few months before that. So I was walking with a cane still, but at least I was walking. And I was having a lot of stomach issues, migraines, all that stuff. When I got there, I was a hotmessexpress.com muchacho. When I left there, the experiences that I had, the things that I learned, they were so beautiful. And I was able to not just find myself physically with yoga and a change of diet, change of lifestyle, really focusing on myself for once. But I also found myself mentally and in turn spiritually. And that's something that I could never say before. And when I left, I remember on the last day of class, I was able to walk up to my teacher, shout out to Professor Andrew, and hand him my cane and said, "Here, I'm not going to need this anymore." And Lord, gracias a Dios, gracias al Espíritu, that those words came true, and here I stand, nice and tall, able to tell you that, hey, not every day is perfect, but every day I'm coming out swinging, I'm fighting, and I'm able to run up hills, I'm able to walk, I'm able to ground my energy and eat better. And like I said, not every day is perfect. One of the main things that they teach is how stress affects your life. And just a few months ago, I was going through so much stress, I had something called a hemiplegic migraine. What that is a migraine that mimics a stroke. I had lost complete feeling in my right side of my face, arm, hands, legs, and I was in the hospital for about 5 days, and it was one of the scariest moments of my life. However, it was the aha moment for me. I knew that the stress I was going through was something that was way too much for myself and my body, and it was time to do something different. And different I did. I started to make the changes. The awareness I had of myself and my own life and my health became greater. And I started to do what it was I had to do to find my peace. And in that, this idea was born to really follow my heart and my intuition and create this podcast, because I know that just how I felt alone for so long, there's a lot of you out there that also feel alone. And I'm here to tell you that you don't have to do this alone anymore. So, these are just 2 practices that I'm talking about today that really helped with a lot of different things, from anxiety, digestive problems, arthritis, diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, you name it. It has helped me beyond belief. And like I said, I'm not here to convince you. I'm not here to tell you I have all the answers, because muchacha, I don't have all the answers. I'm still learning. I'm still a student, and I consider myself a student for life. However, I am telling you that every day I wake up, and I wake up grateful that I have tools now to help me get through each day. And every time that I put those tools into practice, and MIU is great at providing life coaches and making sure that you're okay. You're more important than the work. And as you're okay and you keep learning and you keep doing the work, then you keep getting better. And that, in the mix of doing my Reiki practice and really pushing forward, I'm here to tell you that it is possible. And mija, listen up. It is possible. So that's my little spiel for the different things that we're going to be covering. And in the future, I really want this podcast to cover more different somatic therapies and different holistic therapies that we can use to make ourselves feel better. And speaking about that, let me take this as an opportunity to put in a plug. I wrote a book about my experience, a little bit about my life, but it's more of a guidebook for beginners about somatic therapy. It has a list of different therapies that you can use, because just because something works for me does not mean that it's going to work for you. I invite you to get the book and figure out what works for you the best. And on top of that, there's a workbook that can help you keep track of your journey. So enough about that. I just wanted to put it in there. If you're interested, go to my website, natyheals.com, NatyHeals, and give it a look. It's also on Amazon. Okay, so now for the second half of this podcast, I really wanted to bring something different, something new. So I used my social media to put some questions out there. And the number one question that I found that really hit the core for what this podcast is going to be about, shout out to my sister who asked it, is how does the Latino community view your techniques, and do they believe that they work? And wow, que pregunta. Okay, so the answer is not that simple, but voy a hacer lo que puedo hacer para contestarte. Okay, so let's start with, I really feel that here in America, we are very westernized. We are taught to believe that our medical system is the best and that we have all the answers. However, we really, really don't. And a lot of the medical field is built to cover up the symptoms and not really to find out why these things are happening to us, specifically us women. And I took a course this past winter in MIU called Women Wisdom in the World. And in that course, I found out that it's only been within the last 30 years that the Western medical system has even started to figure out and explore the body of us women, the women's body, and our health and how our bodies work. And did you know that a woman having a heart attack presents different symptoms than a man having a heart attack? Yeah, that's new information. Look it up. So that being said, I think that I know that a lot of people don't believe in this stuff. I know when I tell people my story of, yeah, I fractured my spine, yeah, I live with chronic illness and mental health, and no, I don't take medications and stuff. Sometimes people look at me like I got 10 heads peeking out of my body. And, it's funny to me, but at the same time, it's really sad because the things that I do are so simple and natural, and people really don't know about these things. And I really feel as though if more people did, our community wouldn't be as sick as it is. A quick Google search will show you that some common health issues that we find in the Latino community, especially for us Latinas, is obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, chronic kidney disease, chronic liver disease, and cancer. I mean, if that's not scary enough. And let's not even begin with the mental health issues due to years and years and years of trauma. That leads me to the second part of this answer. I feel that if you go around the world to our original countries, you're still going to find a lot of these old traditions. I mean, you go to the Caribbean and you find Santeria, which is a mix of African and Yoruban practices mixed with Catholic practices that involve spiritual healing with herbal remedies. You find Espiritismo, which is also a spiritual belief found in Latin America, like Puerto Rico and Cuba, that involves the same thing. There's things we do called limpiezas, and even Ayurveda is found in most Latin countries. So I do believe that some people would say, yeah, what she's saying and what she's doing works. And some people would say that it doesn't. And I feel like a lot of that has to do with how we were colonized, how our ancestors were colonized. Think about it. Our people were here or there, and we had our traditions, we had our beliefs, and along came this group of other people who came and took those beliefs away from us by force and told us that we weren't allowed to believe in them anymore. I mean, even here in America, the Native Americans were put in different schools where if they even spoke their own language, they would get beaten or killed. Our ancestors were murdered. A lot of trauma came, and they erased who we were as a people. They erased our beliefs. And unfortunately, all these years later, we have forgotten who we are. We have forgotten those beliefs, and we believe what we're told to believe. So today, I just want to challenge you to really think about, who am I? Who are you? And why do you believe the things that you believe about yourself? And what can you do differently for yourself? And I'm not talking about just religion here, guys. I don't consider myself a religious person. I consider myself a spiritual person. And I believe there's a higher power. I believe in God. I believe that people spend way too much time thinking that they're right and arguing about who's right and who's wrong. And they completely forget the point of the matter, which is love. Self-love and love for others. And that brings me to my point of this whole podcast, is how do I connect my mind, my body, and my spirit? And truly the answer to that is when you cleanse your body. Remember, your mind and body are connected. I don't know why we think that it's two separate things. No. We are what we eat, right? So our mind and our body is connected. And as we cleanse our body by eating healthily and doing cleanses and doing the things that it is that we need to do to feel better, our mind starts to feel better and it starts to think clearer and it doesn't feel as heavy. And as that starts to happen, spiritually you start to clear those channels as well, because you're not all clogged and congested with all the caca of everyday life, and you're able to better connect with your spirit, and your spirit's better able to connect with your purpose. And I really feel like that's what we're all here for. Now, earlier in the introduction, I called myself a light worker, and I want to explain what that is for those that don't know. A light worker is just a person who works with the energy and works with the light within themselves and all around them, even within you. As you listen to my voice right now in this moment, you're listening to my energy. And in one way or another, whether you like what I'm saying or not, I'm affecting your energy. And that's basically what a light worker does. A light worker is a person who helps you open up to an idea, helps you open up to a different energy, helps you open up to a different way of being. Part of what I do, parte de lo que yo hago, is called automatic writing, and this happens to me sporadically. Sometimes it's in the middle of the night, the middle of the day, middle of meditation, and I just start writing. And don't ask me what I wrote, because I probably can't tell you. Sometimes I have to go back and read it a million times and be like, ooh, yo escribí eso. But I really feel like a lot of people have this gift, and it's one of the many gifts that we are born with. And this is something that's happened to me many, many times. And the other night I was writing, and I don't know, I really feel like part of today's message is to share that writing with you guys. And I hope that as I read to you what I wrote, that you're able to just take what resonates. Remember to focus on your breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth. Focus on receiving what is meant for you. Leave what doesn't. It's okay. Life doesn't have to be that serious. And just remember that healing starts with you. Here we go. Ay, mija, you did it. I've been waiting to speak to you for so long. However, you were in a place where you couldn't hear me, where you couldn't be yourself, because you were constantly being judged, and worse yet, you kept judging yourself. You started not to believe in yourself. You started to believe that you were who they said you were. You stopped seeing yourself for who you really were, and for who I created you to be. Look at the past, and you're surely to see and remember just the pain. But there's no more looking back for you. When you prayed and asked our Creator for answers, the answers came to you and you paid attention. In every hardship you learned the lesson that led you to this path where you stand today. Now you have to remember how far you've come, from that broken beauty to this healing divine beauty. You were created with a purpose. You were created by the Most High. When you prayed and asked for God to show you love, to show you healing, to show you your purpose in life, Spirit heard you as you prayed and led you right to this moment. Can you see how far you've come? Can you see that you've come further than you've expected? Look at how you've healed physically, mentally, and spiritually. You are now finding the path to your purpose. You are being prepared for something bigger than you could ever imagine. Keep trusting your intuition, as that's where Spirit talks to you. Keep having faith. Keep leading your life in love. Pray, meditate, Bebe agua. Remember what you always say. Prayer is talking to God. Meditation is listening. There's no way to do that wrong. But listen to what? Is it your ego or is it the light? Let it be the light. Because in this life, you will face darkness. But you can't hide from that any longer. You were made and built to be a warrior. Now you have the tools to cope, to get through each storm. You're not broken anymore. You're whole. You're not trying anymore. You're doing. Remember, you are loved. You are safe. You are protected. Wow, I really hope that touched your heart in some way and that it inspires you to keep pushing through. So another part of this podcast, I would love to be an oracle reading. So I went ahead and pulled 2 oracle cards to read from today. And I pulled one from my Awake Inner Wisdom cards. And I pulled one from my Earth Warrior Oracle cards by Alana Fairchild. And I wanted to share that with you here today. So from the Awake Inner Wisdom cards, I pulled out the card that's called Nourish and Flourish. And I'm going to go ahead and read to you what the little guidebook says about this card. Nourish and flourish. Nutrients abound when we notice they have been with us forever. Prosperity consciousness trumps scarcity consciousness. Observe the miracle of desert plants growing and evolving despite the rough terrain. Trust that you have all the resources you need to not only survive but thrive in this life experience. Believe and you shall receive. That's beautiful. I love oracle cards. I love the messages that they give. I really feel like spirit be on point. And then I went and pulled from my favorite deck, the Earth Warriors, and my favorite card popped out. This card pops out all the time. It's number 37, Diamond Tiger of the Black Moon. And it says, second chances bring success. And it says, your soul is on the diamond path of spiritual growth. You may feel pressured by life at times, but at a higher level, those challenges are helping you release your true strength of character. You have personal will, strength, and physical power that you need for success, no matter what has happened in the past. You are developing the spirit, passion, and vitality to fight like a tigress defending her cubs. Believe in yourself. There is a great dignity and strength in your heart. Now let me tell you how both those cards resonate and work together. Yes, girl, yes. Okay, mis amores, that brings me to the end of today's podcast. Otra vez, gracias por estar aquí. Los amo, los amo, los amo. For real, for real, for real. Thank you for being here. If you want to know more, again, my website is natyheals.com, Naty, N as in Nancy, A as in Apple, T as in Tommy, Y as in Yo-Yo, heals with the S at the end.com. And you can also find me on TikTok under Naty Heals. You can find me on Instagram. We're on Facebook, YouTube. Find me where you find me. I really spend my days sitting here trying to help you not feel alone. I'm also going to be posting Q&As. I want to hear your voices. I want to hear your stories. I plan on bringing someone on the show once a month, whether it be another survivor, whether it be a professional. But I really want to bring other people on here so that we can hear your stories and we can keep inspiring each other, because that is the point. You don't have to do this alone. You're not by yourself. And baby girl, if I could do this, you can do this. So, bebe agua y recuerda que los amo. Bye.